ultra high protein intake does not actually seem to cause more muscle growth in the lab, but it can help you gain less body fat and stay leaner. Hey everybody, I thought I would chat with you guys and gals a little bit about this today. So when it comes to these topics, oftentimes you'll see this come up and you'll see evidence-based people will debunk all these claims of various gurus, the old magazine information that we need a gram per pound of body weight. Because I remember even certain people, back in Flex magazine and stuff in the day who were bodybuilding coaches would say, well, I have my guys go over 2 grams per pound of body weight. And some of these really crazy numbers, because if you're 200 pounds, that's 400 grams of protein a day. And they would say, yeah, so if I'm coaching a 250 pound bodybuilder, I have him eat 500 grams. And to most people, that just sounds ludicrous. And we've seen all this come out in study after study, and you'll see the best experts will point out that from a muscle growth perspective, that actually doesn't help you gain muscle at all. At that point, it purely becomes it's just extra calories. And actually, it can be extremely difficult to even eat a calorie surplus. Right, that's the thing that's been noted. It can be extremely difficult to eat a calorie surplus when protein intakes get crazy high. Even anything exceeding a gram per pound of body weight. So for people who don't use freedom units, that would be 2.2 grams per kilogram of body weight. So what is that? If you're 100 kilos or 220 pounds, it's 220 grams. All right, the studies have been very conclusive on this, many of them multiple meta-analysis. And when people bring this up, they're like, well, who are they studies on? Competitive bodybuilders? Competitive power lifters, competitive Olympic lifters, people who are serious lifters. We're not talking about the recreational person. We're not talking about the novice. A lot of the studies that have been done on people who compete in bodybuilding, people who have 5 or 10 years of lifting experience. Okay? These studies have been done on people on stuff and people not on stuff. I try to exclude people on stuff in these studies, but sometimes they're like, let's just take bodybuilders. And what they have consistently found, there has never really been any measurable muscle growth by adding protein beyond around 1.5 to 1.6 grams per kilogram of body weight, right? Or around 0.8, some people call it 0.82 is what some of the studies showed when in pounds. So 0.82 grams per pound of body weight. And at that point, it doesn't even seem like protein type matters anymore. At lower proteins, protein quality matters. You start getting to those numbers, well, it doesn't seem to matter for muscle growth anymore. Barring extreme exceptions. Obviously, if you tried to get all of it from a single low bioavailable plant source or gelatin or something insane, okay, it might matter then. But for most purposes, it doesn't seem to matter, right? They just don't gain any more muscle beyond that. It doesn't appear to happen. And it's not just been 2 or 3 studies at this point, it's been dozens. It's been multiple meta-analysis. In other words, you don't gain more muscle from it. You just simply don't. What is interesting is the body fat side. Because what's happened in studies where we looked at protein overfeeding? Right? People lost body fat. They gained muscle and lost body fat consistently. And there have only been a couple of these studies done. There haven't been large amounts of them done. Only been a couple, but they show consistent results. When we start hitting these really high protein intakes, we're talking 300 and 400 grams, and they tried to put people into a calorie surplus. Most of them didn't even gain weight. They just recompositioned. Okay, and these were usually people who already had lifting experience. These were not novice lifters. Now, when people say, well, that shows that they did gain more muscle. No, they didn't gain muscle faster than people who bulk on the lower protein intakes. But here's the thing, people who bulk on the lower protein intakes gain a little bit of body fat with that bulk. Right? Even a relatively clean bulk. If you're gaining a couple pounds a month and you're not a novice, you're gaining a little body fat. Right? Okay. But in these studies, these guys gained muscle and lost body fat. Well, that's interesting. And so kind of the point we could make here is that, and they didn't even gain weight usually, so they tried to put them into a surplus. It's like, well, had them start tracking their macros, find their maintenance, eat the same thing, and just had them add enough whey protein every day, and they gave them the whey protein and had them keep food journals, where they tried to put them into a surplus of adding like 200 grams of protein a day over their normal maintenance macros, carbs, fat, and protein, to get them to these extreme protein intakes. But they didn't gain weight from adding like 800 calories a day, but they gained muscle and lost fat. So that kind of shows that it's very hard to get into a surplus. It could be the combination of the appetite suppressing effect. It could be the thermic effect. All these things. And I've seen some experts point out they don't think they actually put them into a surplus. They're like, no, it's probably suppressed their appetite enough that they were leaving food behind and they weren't actually getting into a true surplus. It was keeping them close to maintenance. But here's the kicker, they gained muscle just like as if they were in a very clean, small bulk. Do you see where we're going with this? This is suggesting that ultra-high protein intakes will allow us to quote-unquote bulk while losing body fat. Because we're not really gaining true scale weight. It's not really a bulk, is it? The scale is not going up, we're not bulking. So this allows for the best possible recomposition. And again, kind of begs the question of, if protein intakes get high enough, you have the nutritional needs to gain muscle, even potentially in the absence of an energy surplus, that at a certain point, the protein itself can be so high and spares protein so effectively from protein degradation in the body and enough anabolic effect that it may be creating close to optimal protein intakes, even in the absence of a calorie surplus. Again, what does this mean? This means eating extremely high amounts of protein is not going to make you gain muscle faster, but it certainly may help you be leaner while retaining muscle or gaining muscle. Now, they haven't found the same protective effects when in a pretty big surplus or deficit. They found that at a certain point, even those protein intakes don't seem to help any further. But when we start getting those really high intakes and we're trying to even eat into any sort of surplus on a clean diet, it doesn't seem to occur. So again, the ultra-high protein intakes may be a complete replacement for bulking for many people. And that's the point of this. All right, guys, but that's really all I have to say on that today. I hope it's been informative, and I'll talk to you guys and gals next time.